Hello, I'm David Garfinkel. This is a Copywriters Podcast special report, the growing need for financial copywriters, with my friend and guest, Joshua Lee Henry. You know, the most common question I get every week is, how do I get paid work as a copywriter? And today's guest, Joshua, has some very interesting information that will answer that question for you with specifics and with actions you can take. Now, Joshua, if you're a regular viewer of the podcast, you know he's the high-powered copywriter and copy chief. He should be a familiar name and face to you by now with his 4 great previous appearances on Copywriters Podcast. And previously, he's talked about writing leads and offers, and he even did the first and only guest Old Masters series on this show about John Caples. Joshua has a very impressive copywriting background and is currently copy chief for Money and Markets, an imprint of Agora's Banyan Hill Company, which, to point out the obvious, is a financial publisher. Okay, that's not the only reason he has this information, but it's a good place to start. So today's show with Joshua is a little different than the ones we've done together in the past. Instead of tips on writing copy, to be blunt, today we're talking about jobs, how to get them. As you may have noticed, the copywriting world is in a very uncertain state right now, a perplexing economy where inflation's going down, it's roaring along as more and more people are just hanging on by their fingernails is one reason for the uncertainty. And another one is the rapid growth of AI, especially Chat GPT. Will it replace human copywriters? Many people wonder. Well, not in the financial writing space, at least not this year. All you have to do is listen to what Joshua has to say. If you know what to look for and where to look, you'll find there are opportunities galore. So let's jump into it. Joshua, thanks for getting together with me again. And hey, could you describe the financial copywriting landscape for us?
Yeah, absolutely, David. And I just want to say thank you for having me on this. You know, I set a record with doing the first and only guest episode on the Old Master series with John Caples. And I feel like now I'm setting another record, David, because we're doing this special YouTube live. Yeah, first one. Yeah. So, you know, maybe this will, maybe we'll do another one like this. But, you know, it's very interesting. And I just have to say, I saw this in the news. And as David mentioned, you know, as you mentioned, I used to be in ministry. And did you see that the first AI generated church service happened in Germany just a few days ago?
No, but if not, where better to happen than Germany or Japan?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe this, but you know, there was an AI generated image of a person, and the entire message, the entire sermon to the congregation was AI generated through Chat GPT. And there were over 300 people in attendance, which in Europe right now is a very big deal to be at any kind of religious gathering in Germany. And so I saw that over the news, and I just got off of a copy call right before we hopped on Zoom here with the copywriters at Banyan Hill. And the majority of this conversation for an hour was built around or was focused around AI rather, and how we can leverage AI in our stock picking recommendations, how we can leverage AI in our editorial, and also how we can leverage AI in our copy. In fact, I've been seeing all over social, you know, some copywriters are creating 2,000, 3,000 word prompts to feed into Chat GPT to analyze promos that they can then feed it to make it, you know, I saw one on the 4 U's, you know, looking for those 4 U's made famous by Mark Ford, you know, urgent, unique, useful, ultra specific. And it would give a score on the copy based on those 4 U's and how they appear in the promo. And so AI is very topical right now. It's very top of mind for the writers that are worried this might, you know, infringe on their freelancing abilities or maybe replace them, take their jobs. But as you said, that's not going to happen. Not at least this year, not anytime soon in financial. And there are a number of reasons why. You know, number one, the data set that AI like ChatGPT has, it's capped at 2021. We're now halfway through 2023. And in financial, you know, moves in the market happen every day. You know, the S&P's in a new bull market this week, even with now, as we record this, the Fed meeting going on, you know, so there's always movement in the stock market that AI just doesn't have any current knowledge base of. That's the first piece. The second piece, I think that AI will never replace financial copywriters is that while AI can be a tool for editing, for giving inspiration, for creativity, for research, all of that, especially when it comes to creating stock picking algorithms, what we found in financial publishing is that investing is a very emotional experience. The markets are driven by both fear and greed. So emotion is a big part of investing, and part of that investing experience, people are looking for a personal guide. They're looking for that mentor, that Yoda to be their, to their Luke Skywalker. They want a guide. And we've seen that in all of these AI-based promotions that have come out where you have this system, this black box that can pick stocks, those do okay. But the ones that really excelled add that human component to it because people trust people. People relate to people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of that, when we were talking before, you said that there are a bunch of companies that are hiring copywriters right now, not AIs, but copywriters, humans.
Exactly. I mean, I can tell you right now, David, I've got a list right in front of me. Companies that are hiring right now include, Banyan Hill, Money Map Press, Agora Financial, Stansberry Research, Tiffin Wealth, Seeking Alpha, Legacy Research. These companies are hiring right now. They're looking for short form copywriters. They're looking for email production managers. They're looking for marketing coordinators. And then there are non-marketing roles like editors and analysts and proofreaders and people that serve on the video production team. And, somebody watching this might say, well, hey, I want to be a copywriter for a major publisher, like a Stansberry. I don't want to be an editor. Well, I said this to a friend the other day. My company that I work for, Banyan Hill, has two of the greatest financial copywriters that have ever lived working with us. We have Aaron DeHogue, who's the CEO of the company, and Jed Canty, who is one of our copy chiefs. And Jed and Aaron have written some of the best promos out there, on par, equally as good as Mike Palmer and Porter Stansberry and those guys. Jed wrote the Aftershock promo at Newsmax that came out the same time End of America did from Palmer and Stansberry. Aaron did the Biblical Money Code. And so these guys are very high-powered, legends in the game, mentors to me, very high level. Aaron's obviously the CEO of Banyan, if I didn't say that. But both of these guys, they started out at Agora in telesales and in customer service.
Yeah,
they didn't start out as copywriters. So when people are new to the industry and they're just trying to get their foot in the door, maybe they have a background in research or editorial or an analyst role, and they're trying. Evaldo Albuquerque, the guy that wrote the 16-word sales letter, one of the most famous financial copywriters here recently. He spent the first few years of his career as a financial analyst before he ever wrote a word of copy. So it's go ahead. Yeah, please.
Yeah. I mean, the trick is getting your foot in the door. And I could, tell you about my early job, working in a mailroom, which is true. And I could tell you about, the first couple months as a professional writer. I didn't get paid, but it was a free internship. But my boss felt so bad for me, he'd slip $50 under the table each week and put a book in my lunch bag that said how to get a job, just to give me shit, But yeah, I mean, there's nothing. It's not about how high do you start. It's about how do you get your foot in the door and get known and get the opportunities, right?
Yeah. Well, and you got a background in journalism, right? And news reporting and editorial. Right. And you had been writing, if I remember correctly in your story, it was a decade or more, right? Before you were writing as a professional writer, but you weren't like a quote unquote direct response copywriter.
It was. And, I first started out writing, promos. I wrote one promo for $300. It ended up making my client 40 million. So, wow. And I forgot to ask for royalties, but I mean, that's just how it works. That's how it starts. And if you can get your foot in the door, and I've been lucky to get connected with some really good organizations and some really good clients. But you're saying that there is a way to do this. And before we get to that, could you talk about the state of the marketplace? My vision of financial copywriting is sort of frozen in time from 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, but so much has changed, right? When I was doing a lot of work as a consultant, copy consultant with Agora Financial, they had this guy named Bob, and Bob was a 65-year-old. They even had a little bobblehead they put on top of their computers. He was their avatar, their target market.
Yep.
65, white, Christian, conservative, dentist,
Yeah.
and that's who they were writing to. But I know from what you've said that the market of investors with cash,
Yep.
with money to invest,
Yep.
is a lot more diverse than the way Agora Financial. I'm sure Agora Financial is aware of this too. You know, they're not slow, but at the time, that's how they were looking at things.
Yep. And, you know, just to go back to your royalty story there, because I do want to talk about the changing landscape of the financial publishing industry, the expanding market opportunities that are available, how the avatar is changing. But I remember you telling me that, or hearing about your royalty story in the past, and forgetting to get that, up front. And I had a similar story. My very first big investing VSL, I wrote for $8,000, and it went on to do $6 million in the first 90 days. And then it's now has since done 20 million. And so, yeah, that was one of those where I thought, and we had talked about royalties up front, and they were like, well, it was kind of a new relationship for me. They weren't really big on working with freelancers anyway at the time. And so they had never paid anybody royalties. And so now, as I train and instruct and teach and coach new financial copywriters, I always educate them on that royalty process and knowing what to look for and how to negotiate those. And because I think, if we asked around, there's probably many more copywriters like us that have similar stories where missed out on a huge potential payday,
Oh, sure. But I mean, I think one thing we're talking about is you got to crawl before you walk. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that these days. So they're
That's
closing,
true. That's true.
But the thing is, with my big win and with your big win, it puts you in a much better position to negotiate really good royalties on your next project, doesn't it?
It does. It's like they say, you always learn more from your failures than you do your successes, and exactly right. I think you do have to crawl before you can walk. And there's not to bash anybody by name or anything, but, we've seen the junk, copywriting trainings that show up on social where they're, trying to tell you to make, $1 million overnight. You're going to, buy this course and snap your fingers and go to sleep. And here's a magic pill. Next thing you know, you can start charging, 50 grand for a sales letter, even though you've never written a word of copy before, and I just think that there is some of that learning the ropes and earning your stripes as you come up. That I think is an honor for me to, help young copywriters and new
but
copywriters.
It doesn't take forever. It could be 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's not like it doesn't have to be a long, hard process either. Yeah. But I think, if you get around a good chief or a good mentor or a great coach like yourself, that can accelerate that learning process massively.
Okay. So I made a big promise at the beginning that there's a growing need for financial copywriters.
Absolutely.
And you've given us a little proof. Maybe you'll give us more, but before you do that, could you talk about what's going on in the marketplace, both the investor marketplace and the people who hire copywriters, the financial publisher copy marketplace, so that we can understand the context for what you're about to talk about.
Yeah. So, just without doing a history lesson here, but, Aaron DeHogue, our CEO at Bain, just was talking to us an hour ago saying the GoGo years that we saw in financial publishing where Agora grew into $1 billion company, were really between 2016 and 2020. And those 4 years just went gangbusters. Promos on the back end were selling $5 million on launch day, no questions asked, up to $35 million, $50 million. Front ends were bringing in 100,000 names, no question asked, which that is a huge amount of money and names on a front end basis. Now we saw a resurgence of that at a minor level in 2021 after the craziness of 2020 and the pandemic and whatnot. In 2021, we saw a resurgence of that at a minor level. In 2022, there was a very much bear market, which made a lot of investors pull out of the markets. They stopped investing. Ad costs went through the roof. It became very, very difficult. A lot of financial publishers were struggling financially. Agora was, down in revenue. And so there were a lot of cuts in the industry in 2022. And layoffs happened. Mergers between companies and publishers happened. What I believe that we're seeing is that a lot of these companies actually made cuts too deep. Because now in 2023, the markets have turned, even though there's still talk about possible recession and inflation and interest rates, things are easing. The S&P right now, without getting too economical, is in a bear market. Stocks are up. Tech stocks that were down 70% on average in 2022 are now up like gangbusters in 2023. Apple and Amazon are both up over 40%. Facebook is up over 140%. Nvidia is the big one. They're knocking on the door of 170% right now. And it's because of this AI boom that we were talking about earlier that's seeing a resurgence in big tech. So what does that mean for financial publishers? Financial publishers now are scrambling because they laid off too many people in 2022. And now they need new copywriters to write full-length promos. We just brought on a freelancer this week that I'm chiefing on a new AI-based back-end promo, a full-length promo that we need to get done. They need short-form copywriters to get the old promos that used to work in 2020 and 2021, bring those promos off of the shelf, get new emails and ads for them in advertorials, because investors are buying right now. If you look at some of the statistics and the research out there, Gallup just came out with a new poll that more people are investing now than ever before in the last 25 years, matching the record high of pre-2008, pre-global financial crisis. And so what we're seeing is that more people are investing right now than ever before. There's more money in the markets right now than ever before. And because of AI and other what's called financial technology, it's easier for people to invest right now than ever before. I did a Loom video today, David, as God is my witness. I did a Loom video today, a 6-minute screen recorded Loom video to show my mother how to invest through Fidelity on my brokerage account. In less than 6 minutes, I was buying stock and showing her how to do it. Now, my mom, it's not like she's like completely foreign to technology, but she just had never used an online broker like this before. And I bought stock in less than 6 minutes. And so you've got the millennial boom that started investing during 2020 with Robinhood and following the meme stock craze of, Bed Bath & Beyond and GameStop and AMC. We saw a rise that Bob that you were talking about, the avatar Bob from Agora Financial, has changed. He's still very much the primary demographic, but it's changing and it's changing quickly. There are more millennials now investing than ever before. There are more minorities investing than ever before, and there are more women investing than ever before. Those markets are new markets to the traditional Agora model. And so there are new services that are coming out. There are new technologies and what are called software as service products that are coming out to meet those customers where they are today.
And I'm going to guess that, and this is tricky, because it doesn't always work quite as directly as it sounds, but I'm going to guess that with all those different markets, with minorities, with women, with different types of age range, all kinds of different demographics, you're going to need people who can write in different voices. Now, it doesn't mean that just because you're a woman or just because you're a minority, you can write for women or minorities. But if you know how to do that and you happen to be a woman, if you know how to write copy and you happen to be a minority and you're heading for a minority sector of the economy, as two general examples, you're going to be more attractive than you ever have been before to the financial publishers. Would you say that's true?
That is absolutely true. And in fact, there has been a woman hunt, like a man hunt, but a woman hunt to find some more of these expert voices from the female perspective that can be highlighted in the financial publishing. Because unfortunately, as we said, this traditional white, male, conservative, boomer, professionally educated stereotype, has really been the case for that typical financial buyer for decades. But now that has changed, and that's changing rapidly. We're seeing way more focus on in certain publishers outside of the Agora brand, companies like Raging Bull, Tim Sykes, a few others. There is definitely more of that leaning towards that younger investor mentality. And that's because the baby boomers were the largest generation. Your generation was the largest generation in history until my generation, until the millennials. And, both of us, both of our generations are pegged, depending on who you read, around 70 million. And so that Gen X in the middle, they're missing from the markets right now. But the millennials are investing because we're entering our highest income earning, years in our career. And then the baby boomers they're investing heavily because they're sandwiched in between taking care for their aging parents and also taking care a lot of times of their Gen X children still at home. And so they're taking care of parents and children.
Well, that's interesting. I remember you told me about a financial publisher that went public and their own stock is doing pretty well this year.
That's right. Market wise, again, for those not to get too much into a history lesson here, but the market wise brand of companies are a bunch of companies that were at one point either under the Agora brand or the Legacy brand. These include companies like Legacy Research, Stansberry, Tradesmith, Investor Place Media, big companies that if you follow financial copywriting, you probably see these VSLs advertised on YouTube and on Yahoo Finance and Dynami and Outbrain, and these native ads that you see following you around the internet. And I just checked, as of last week when I was pulling some of this research, stock was up almost 61% year to date. So this is market wise. This is a publicly traded company of financial investment firms. If you go to their website and you begin reading about the investor profile information and stuff, it's all of these big companies. Stansberry is kind of that crown jewel, and they're up 60% for the year. Okay. It takes most stocks on average do 10% if they're lucky on a good year. That's 6 times the average return of a stock in the S&P 500. That's 6 times in the first 6 months of 2023 already. And so,
okay, yeah. So you're making a good case that the financial markets are back, baby. They're back.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm a copywriter and I'm wondering, I've heard supplements are pretty good. Personal growth and courses is great. Financial, I've thought about it. I don't know much about it. Is financial a good bet according to LinkedIn, Upwork, and Smart Blogger?
Yeah, you're leading the witness. Absolutely. There's a lot of great research out there right now. New quotes, new articles from Upwork, LinkedIn, and Smart Blogger that all list financial copywriting as the highest paid niche in 2023. I just saw a statistic today. This is crazy. There are over 1.5 freelancers in the world right now. Half of the global workforce is a freelancer. In America, that number is going to go to 100 million by 2030. Of those freelancing professions, of course, you've got like computer programming, you've got graphics, you've got, all types of stuff. Copywriting is one of the fastest growing niches of freelancers. In that freelance space, undoubtedly, if they've actually, I think it was LinkedIn that had segregated finance, and then they also had crypto and blockchain. In my mind, those are, they're the same thing, but LinkedIn had separated them as these are like 2 out of the top 5 fastest growing. Finance was number 1, LinkedIn was like number 2 or number 3. But in the financial publishing space, there is such a move right now towards crypto. Even though right now, as we record this, there's a major SEC lawsuit against both Binance and Coinbase, the 2 largest crypto exchanges. People are still piling in. Kathy Wood, famous investor from ARK Invest, just put 20 million into Coinbase in the midst of a lawsuit. And so there is still people that are super hot on Bitcoin right now, on digital currencies, on crypto, on blockchain. That is not going away. And if you have any interest in that, because when most copywriters think of, writing about blockchain and smart contracts and crypto and Bitcoin, that's financial copywriting. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that copywriting can look very different than, the traditional long form VSL, but it's still direct response copy that publishers are looking to hire you for today.
Okay. So let me ask you a blunt question. The same one my boss, when I was in an internship, was telling me I didn't know the answer to, and he stuffed that book in my lunch bag every day. How do you get a job in financial copywriting, Joshua?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is what happens to me. You can go online, you can go apply at these companies, and, you can put your resume in or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we know how well that works. Or you can follow a copywriting principle that says, show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. Don't tell me you want to get hired in financial copywriting. Show me that I need to hire you now. And the way that you do that, David, is by adding value first to these financial companies. And how do you add value?
Like right in the application, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and what I see is that when people send me we call them spec assignments, assignments that basically somebody, and I get these emails every day. Every week I get a half a dozen or so of these emails. They're in my LinkedIn inbox. But they basically something like, hey, Joshua, the imprint that I write for, as you said, Money and Markets over at Banyan Hill. We have a couple of different promos that I wrote running right now. One of them is on the $5 stock summit. And so somebody will say, hey, Joshua, I saw this promo from Money and Markets, the $5 stock summit, and I wrote you a few new emails for it. Take a look at these and let me know if you like them. And those are the people that if I read them and they're good, what I do is I forward them onto my publisher and our marketing team. And I say, hey, these are pretty good. I could maybe edit them, polish them up a little bit, take 5 minutes and get them up to snuff, get them through legal, get them approved. and let's get them out the door. And I said, I tell my marketing team, if you run these, let me know, because I want to pay that copywriter. I'll either get them paid, a check through our operations department, or I've paid copywriters myself before, if it's just been a way for me to buy back some of my time and not have to write those emails. And that has happened pretty frequently. We've been able to run those emails. And if I don't have an opportunity to run that copywriter's copy right away, that email or the ad or the advertorial, what I do is I put it in a folder and I save their name, and I always reply back to them. I may not be able to reply, right back in that moment, but I keep a folder because you know what, David, I was there. And I can tell you right now, that's how I got my first project.
Do those people get hired, or do they get referred to other jobs?
They get referred, they get hired. I've been able, following that strategy, the copywriters that send me value first, I've been able to get hired at Agora, France, Agora, Germany. I've sent recommendations to Oxford Club, Money Map Press, and Raging Bull, of copywriters that have followed this strategy. And so, yes, they absolutely get top of recommendation. There are copywriters that I don't, outside of a LinkedIn conversation or an email, I don't know these people, you know what I mean? Yeah. But going back and forth, it's amazing what you can tell. I don't know if it's, I'm not saying it's reading tea leaves or not, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you read somebody's copy, you can get a real good sense for their personality, their work ethic, how they respond to feedback, how they respond and correspond through email, where their awareness and knowledge level is for the industry. And I really go to bat for those copywriters, again, because I was there, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was there and I was doing this exact same thing. And I only knew about this strategy because somebody more experienced had told me the same thing. They said, add value first. Don't come to them asking if we're hiring, because when a prospective copywriter comes to me, hey, are you hiring freelancers? That's a problem. You're giving me a problem. Now I have to answer you. Now I have to explain yes or no or why or how to apply. But when you come to me with value first, a solution to a problem I already have, I'm already running this promo. I need more copy to keep this promo running. So when you come to me with copy and you give first, it ignites that feeling of reciprocity where I want to help that person get their foot in the door if I'm able to.
Okay. So that's great if you want to go the free route or the route of submitting some copy to Joshua, but there's another opportunity, and that's on only for next week, 10 days, the world of financial copy, right? And you're a big part of that. So could you talk about that?
Absolutely. And this is what I call the shortcut to break into the industry. Again, you can cold, email publishers like using the strategy I just described, and, hopefully somebody has sympathy on you and sees that hunger and gives you a chance. Or you can follow a proven process that I have paved along with Kevin Rogers from Copy Chief, and Banyan Hill was a big part of opening up the door for this. Aaron DeHogue, our CEO there. But we have created a lockstep learning process to take a complete newbie from zero experience, but a ton of enthusiasm, and get them up to speed as a competent and confident financial copywriter. Everything from writing short form copy like ads and emails and advertorials, and a little bit of re-lead and order form reworks and things like that, to actually structuring a full promo. And with that, we've been able to get a lot of copywriters hired. And so these are complete newbies,
Hired where?
So we've gotten people hired at Oxford Club, at Banyan Hill, at Money Map Press. And so a lot of these Agora companies, in fact, I started working with the 14 West shared central service provider for Agora to place some of these copywriters in these big publishers.
Agora is great, but have you gotten anybody hired outside of Agora?
Yeah, so Raging Bull and Tim Sykes, we were able to get people connected there. There's a bunch of smaller publishers too, that probably wouldn't be known by name, but these firms are doing less than 10 million a year, and they're looking for copywriters. There's a lot of copywriters that are getting jobs in these fintech related spaces and these other, what I would call them alternative forms of investing outside of the traditional Agora model. And so what I mean by that would be things like the fintech space, the real estate space, and the gold and silver space. And so these are kind of like, sideways type, tangential industries to financial publishing. And yeah, go.
But you guys have connections with them. You talk
we
to
have
them.
Connections
they talk
with them.
to you. They like what you're doing. They say, can we have a look at some of your students.
That's
I mean, residents.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So we have onboarding relationships with these companies that are coming in looking to hire. There's one company right now. I'm not able to say the name, but what we're doing is we're formalizing and finalizing this process to where what it is it's a standard spec assignment for an advertorial that anybody in the world of financial copywriting, this club, is able to go through that process, write that advertorial, and get feedback from this company right away. They will get feedback no matter what, because for so long it was like if you did a spec assignment for a publisher, you may or may not get feedback. It was like your copy went into a black hole. You may never see it again or get feedback. So we wanted to remedy that by giving everybody that completes a spec assignment immediate feedback. Okay. That's the first thing. If you're not good, or if the spec assignment's not where it needs to be, we'll tell you that, and we'll give you coaching and help you get your copy to where it's needed to be. That doesn't mean that if we get 20 applicants, we're going to hire all 20 people through this firm, but we're looking for, people that are ready to go now, who's going to be able to write copy today with the least amount of feedback, so that way we're going to get a good return on our investment. And these hiring partners are always coming in looking for more people to hire, because as I said earlier, we're seeing a bull market again in the stock market and these other forms of investing. And so all of these firms are looking to hire right now. And that will only continue to increase, I believe.
And so this world of financial copy, it's a very hands-on thing. You end up, there is some lecture and some community, but you end up writing and getting feedback, right? I mean, that is part of the process.
Absolutely. It goes back to learning to crawl before you walk, most definitely. And so there's actually 3 different components to it. You've got the learning module course, which is 7 core trainings. These are all about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and they feature some of the best copywriters writing promos today, both inside and outside of Agora. Aaron DeHogue is one of our speakers in 2 of those. We've got a number of other copywriters from we had Money Map Press publishers come in. We had copywriters from Oxford come in. And so, and Legacy Group, in fact, I've got upcoming trainings scheduled with the head copywriter from Porter Stansberry's new company, Porter & Co., which is different than Stansberry Research. He's going to come in and do a training for us. Mark Ford, one of the co-founders of Agora, he's scheduled for a future training with us. And so you've got the 7 learning modules, all between an hour and a half to 2 hours, which gives you like the basics, everything from financial copywriting 101 to, structuring a full-length promo, which in my mind would be like the graduate course, and how to write great leads and hooks. But then we have the ongoing coaching component where you're getting active feedback on your copy from real-world copywriters today. I mean, some of our leaders in the community, we've got one of my fellow copy chiefs from Banyan Hill. We've got one of the senior copywriters from Stansberry Research. We've got another guy that is very good in the gold space. And we've got another lady who's newer to financial copywriting, but she was Grant Cardone's very first investment writer. And has sold almost $1 million, right at like a little over $900,000 of investment and business education info products at Cardone in the last 6 months. She just got recruited to go to Stansberry. She's writing kick butt copy there at Stansberry. We had hired her at Banyan for some spec assignments, but she's one of the main leaders. We've got a copywriter that worked with Malden Economics, which is who actually was the very first publisher that I worked with in financial copy. And now this guy, Dave, is writing kick butt promos under Evaldo Albuquerque, who we mentioned earlier over at Next Phase Media, working with Joe Schriefer, the former publisher of Agora Financial, who I know you've got a background and history with.
Yes, I do. I'm a very happy one. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, so this is going to be open for, I think we're going to show this on Tuesday. So 9 days till June 29th. Is that
7th,
right?
27th.
June 27th.
Yep. The 27th. And that's when we have opened the doors, what we call the secret side door into financial copywriting, the world of financial copy. We have a special training with Henry Bingaman, one of my friends and mentors. I worked with him at Money Map. I've done some other copy with him. This guy sold over $100 million promos, and so he's going to come on and do our training on June 29th. So the cart closes on the 27th to join. We want new members to join. Then Henry's going to do a training with us 2 days later on the 29th. And for the first, 25 people that join, in as new members of the world of financial copywriting, they get another bonus training with me on July 6th. And so we've got a couple of great dates coming up. Mark Ford will be in July as well. And so you don't want to sleep on this opportunity. Let me tell you that.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, the link is below the video, and thanks for coming on. I think this is a great opportunity. It answers the question, where can I get a job? Well, this could be a very good career path. I'm very impressed with it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, David. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. And you are going to be a guest as well. Let me not
Oh,
forget
that's
that.
right. I
You
will.
like we were gonna have,
Twist my
yeah, we're gonna
arm.
have this,
Yes.
yeah. So I'm excited for that, and it's going to be good, So you've got the live coaching, you've got the community aspect inside the Copy Chief, and you got the coursework. Most importantly, you've got on ramps to get hired at publishers that are looking for more copywriters today, and so that's the great thing about it, David.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Joshua. I hope the person who's interested in exploring a new job path, new career path, will take you up on this opportunity, because it's a good one. If something this organized and clear was available when I first started copywriting, I would have taken it, but it wasn't. So I'm glad it is now.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Thank you so much for having me, David.
Okay, thanks a lot. See you later.
Yep. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.